So, funny story, this is actually the third time I'm recording this because first time my cat and my dog were fighting, so I kept having to stop, and the second time my computer messed up and I wound up losing everything I had edited together, and it had nice little animations, but I've got a little surprise for you guys at the end. I hope you guys enjoy. Stick around for that. So, I'm going to grab a whole bunch of the little stickers. You can pick the detailed ones, the simple ones, and the question that came up was scale. Found that one on Reddit. Someone had asked about it. So we're going to start by grabbing just any kind of stamp you want. Plain, simple, humans, dwarves, doesn't matter. Grab some just so you can have what we're going to call the building blocks or the stamps, the Legos, whatever you like. And we're going to just put a little cluster out here so we can pick and choose out of the basket what we would like to play with. So I'm going to take the little sucker over here with the wall. It looks like you can make a city out of it, you can make a castle out of it. It looks pretty flexible. You can use this one a lot. I think I actually do use it a lot. So I'm going to put this big one back here. You can warp it, you can make it bigger, smaller, turn it into any kind of size you want. All you're trying to do right now, because I know we're talking about scale, but at the same time, I also want to show you guys how you can turn the generic stamps into something a little more, so you're not just putting one stamp here, one stamp there, two stamps there, or putting them close together and trying to make something. Use some layers, but at the same time we're going to use scale and perspective to kind of two bird one stone this. And we're going to talk through this just so you can get an idea of how I've been using these myself, and maybe you can take some ideas off of it, use it yourself. You can point some things out, maybe you do things a little differently, but this is just how I've been doing things, and hopefully this answers some questions. But you can surprisingly do a lot with just the simple little building bricks that they were able to provide you. I'm not too sure about this little Greek thing. I wish they had done something a little nicer. I've been meaning to get some time to draw my own. I just haven't gotten around to that with writing my books and doing the other social media stuff for that. I really don't like this ruin-ish. I don't like a lot of the ruins, honestly, but you can warp it just to give you an idea. You can meld it around. Maybe it can be a hand-drawn icon you can use for that. So far as it being an actual temple leaves something to be desired, but it can get the point across. Maybe you can use it as a detail or a fresco. You can use it to add columns to the outside of a wall. You can make an accent feature out of it, add it to the tower or to a house to give it some decoration. But I'm going to take these little village houses and I'm going to pull them over here, just going to paste them over. Control C, Control V, copy paste. Anyone that doesn't know, that's what I'm using. And I'm going to make a little cluster over here. Medieval towns did not necessarily pack the houses very, very close together like you see in a lot of popular media. The very big concern, the fear, was fire. Fire and disease were actually really big concerns. So we may show them fairly close on a map, but you do want to show some livable space. And contrary to popular belief, there was a very big concern about disease. There was a big concern about hygiene, comfort. You want to keep your populace happy. You want to keep them under control, for lack of a better term. So let's try to make it look nice. Think of this as you're showing the state of habitation around this city. So keeping in mind that this is about to go around the little castle, palace, government building, what have you, whatever you want that basic model to be. we're going to show perspective of how big that central figure is by shrinking these houses and placing them in the foreground. So we're going to play a little art theory here and take these, which we have shrunk down, and place a little bit in front and below. And I'm going to place a couple more. We can flip them around just to show some variety. And by playing with angles, and you can see, make some of them a little bit smaller so you can stagger. The more variety and the more you can play with the human eye, the better it's going to work. You can play angles so you can give the impression of an elevation. You can put a whole bunch further out so you can give the idea of space. You can run across the front so you can give the impression of a curved road running in front of it, so you can have a foreground that no one sees. The other thing I like to do is make what I call housing lanes. So take a whole bunch of these just randomly scattered, flip them around, and make what would be on the sides of roads or the horizon lines of rooftops. And you can spread these out and make basically roofline brushes. And you can make these as close together or as spread out as you would like. So you can see already, just with a little copy paste, you've got the impression of a major city. And this is what we would consider to be at our 100 scale. If this was going to be the zoomed out continental map and there was one house, this is the size potentially of how we would have drawn the house by itself, or a cluster of houses just by themselves. So you can play around with these sizes and you can play around with the dispersal a lot. And by doing variety, you can see that having similar items of the same size doesn't really give you that idea of relative size and scale. But as soon as you start shrinking things, like here, I'm going to put some behind. So if I make them smaller and I put them way back here, well, I have to drop them down a layer. So if I drop them to the behind layer, there we go. So now they're behind, a little too small. There we go. So you're going to watch the angle. So things are going up and away like that. So you kind of want to imagine a flattened pizza or an ellipse is in front of you, like a very flat disc or ring. You can even move it into that ring shape to give the impression that there's a habitation around there. Let's make this a full-grown city, though. I'm going to make a giant city. So if you're a adventurer, let's say you're a dungeon master, for sakes and purposes of this video, we're going to say you're a dungeon master and you're running your game and you're going to give this map physically to your players. This map, you shouldn't have to explain what is on this map or what is in this city. They should be able to read this map and say, ooh, I want to go here because look, this tower, I think it's a wizard's tower. We've been looking for a tower. That city has a tower. Or, hey, we're looking for a nun, right? Yeah, well look, that city has a big nunnery. I bet that nun is gonna be in the nunnery or the church or whatever. So you can give non-verbal cues to players. And by doing this, by giving a visual aid to a player, and it doesn't have to be a physical game. This can 100% be accomplished on a digital game. You can provide this on Discord, however you're playing these games. If you give a non-verbal clue to players, you will be surprised how quickly your players, no matter your skill level as a dungeon master or a map designer, however, your players are going to get that spark in their eyes by seeing a city like this and be shocked and go, oh, that is where I want to go. Now, if we're talking scale of it, if it's on a size like this, your players are probably going to think, all right, that's an island, and that is probably the only city that's here. Now, let's give the players the perspective of this being a massive continent, because you can tell the scale on these items is all basically the same generic scale as you're looking around. So if I click on this icon is the only one I didn't change. This was a 100 scale wall with a couple of towers. So we'll call that the control. If you ever do experiments, this is your control right now. So keeping everything we did, we measured and scaled in comparison to it, and I placed everything in comparison to that wall. We're going to group. You can hit Control G. G as in George, or G as in Gulf. And I'm going to name it City. So now I have a group. I can click anything in there, and I'll get the whole thing. I don't have to worry about circling again. And I'm going to type in a scale. I just pick an arbitrary 2-digit number, and it automatically, you see how that massive city is suddenly dwarfed by the size of this continent. Now, if you come in, you'll lose a lot of the detail, but that is good in some cases. You can zoom out, because when you print this off, you're going to get impression. So what we're experimenting with and what we're exploring right now is artistic impressionism. You are not going to, when you look in the record, find very many maps that are heavily detailed. We can bring the scale up just to bring more of that aesthetic, to give the impression of maybe this is a map that came out of a college, or it was very well made. But up here, let's go ahead and make a very big one. We'll go ahead and make another one, and you can just watch that along, just to give you the idea of how flexible these are. Another nice thing, sometimes I like to take some of the terrain features and I will put little hills, trees, because a lot of population centers are not going to be just in a flat land like this. The last thing I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and put 3 of the same stamp right next to each other. And quick little titty bit is I'm going to do some filtering so you can see color grade. So I have the normal one on the right, the one on the left. I'm just going to do a normal overlay. I still use this. This is a generic one. I believe you could still get it on the free one. I still use it. I love it. It gets the point across. It looks aged. You can play around with it. It is so flexible. I love overlay. And I still use it for a lot of my architectural rendering icons that I put onto my maps. So I highly recommend overlay. It is fantastic. But again, you don't have to do your maps the exact same way as anyone else. It is all your choice. It is your game. It is your map. It is your world. I highly encourage you, come into this menu and see what settings you have access to. Play with the filters you have, because think of this as your box of crayons. Not everyone is going to have the same pack. Play with the colors, play with the filters you have, see what you can come up with, and definitely get in there and see how far you can push the contrast, the hue, the colors, how much variation you can find in between your different items. The next one I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of push a little bit more and customize as much as I can to get similar results to how I have on my main map right now, because I honestly have the settings copied over to a main icon, which is why you want to always save these settings to your group icon, or you just want to do all your icons and do the settings in bulk across all your groups. So you customize, like I said, your hue, your saturation, and contrast everything one by one, and just kind of play around with how your different tolerances are working, how everything is going to interact with each other, and just find something you like. Maybe your cartographer uses blue ink, maybe they use red ink, something. You can definitely push the boundaries and see what you like. And one of the big things you're going to find with the map makers around is everyone has this idea of this is the way to do it. My personal philosophy with this program is find what you like, find what you personally want to see, and see how close you can get to it. Look for historical references, and then you can build your own world in the way that you have wanted to see it. But this is what we have. I hope this answers your question on scale and perspective. Thank you so much for watching. This has been absolutely fantastic. So I meant to have this video up on Thursday. I apologize. I had an interview with a podcast called Hometown Horrors. They are here on YouTube, so if you like scary podcasts and ghost stories and things like that, I was recording with them. Their episode is probably going to be airing in October, so definitely go check them out. They were absolutely great. I had a blast talking with them today, or yesterday. And some other really cool things to make it up for you guys. I know some of you had wanted the video up yesterday because I had said I would have it yesterday. I have a special little treat for you guys, little outro song. I wrote some lyrics out. I wanted to have something unique for the channel. Thank you guys so much for all the really quick feedback just after one video. And definitely, this is a demand channel. If there is anything on this program that you guys want, let me know.
Take a step into my world, my friend. We'll draw the lines where dreams begin. With a map, we will trace the journey's end. Ink-stained hands, let's fly again. Mountains blackened by our quill wash, the hills and trees in sketches grow. Come and weave this tapestry with me. How will it all end? We do not know. Let's fly over stains of blackened mountains, hills, and trees. Take an inky swim through rivers, lakes, and streams. Don't care where you've been, and don't care how long, but as long as you're here, come along.
If you want to see more of the world as you follow along in this series, consider purchasing the author's book, Hero of Oria, available in print and digital format.
For an ending, draw the night and await the morning sun. Together, our path leads round the bend. Untraveled roads rarely leave you guessing. Search the skies, your stars are shining. Find your way and see a new horizon. son. Journeys only end after beginning. I know you can fly over stains of blackened mountains, hills, and trees. Take an inky swim through rivers, lakes, and streams. Don't care where you're going, how long you'll be away. I will be right here, and here I'll stay.